separate beds.
Can you stick up for me here? You're a Scalia now?
Officially.
What do you mean? What?
What's your name right now? Lauren Manzo. My name is legally Lauren Manzo.
No, it's not.
You want to see my license? It's not changed by the state of New Jersey. In the Catholic Church, my name is Scalia. But then,
Get pulled over by the Catholic Church.
Yeah. In your heart, what's your name?
Yo, answer. She said no.
Lauren
I'm not gonna say
Scalia.
it. That's right. Can you tell your father that you would like to sleep?
I would like to sleep in the bed with Vito.
You really do?
Yep.
I'll think about it.
Was a recording from the last episode of Manzo with Children, the first season, the last episode of the first season after Lauren and Vito's wedding, and it kind of hits a little differently when you hear what Lauren was saying back then today after the news broke that her and Vito are now filing for divorce. So I'm sorry if the audio wasn't loud enough, so I'm just going to paraphrase it a little bit. So basically, you know, Lauren's dad is feeling some sort of way that Vito can now sleep in the same bed as his dear daughter Lauren, right? Even after they got married. So that's what the whole conversation is all about. And the father says, no, he still cannot sleep with her in my house, like in the same bed as Lauren, even though they are married. So then Vito is asking Lauren to stand up for him, right? And to her dad and say, hey, would you help me a little bit here? Can you talk to your father and tell him that you want to sleep in the same bed with me now that we are married? And then he asked her, or I think someone from the family asked her, are you a Manzo or are you a Scalia? And she says that she's still a Manzo. And they appear to all be shocked by her response and say, you're married and all of that. She's like, yeah, but on paper, I'm still a Manzo. It's just I'm a Scalia in the Catholic Church. And then her mother asked her, what do you feel in your heart? Like, do you feel like you are a Manzo or do you feel like you are a Scalia? And that delay that you hear in the recording is not a technical issue, okay? It's exactly the amount of time that it takes Lauren to answer to that question, which seems like an eternity, and probably not the answer that you're looking for after being freshly married, right? So it took her forever to say, in my heart, I feel like I am a Scalia. And I thought that was very interesting. It could all be for fun. It could all be for the show. Maybe it was not that deep at the time that they were filming it because I have to say with the visual, they're all laughing and all of that. So it may not be that serious, but I find that is very interesting because there has been reports as early as 2017 that Lauren and Vito allegedly already had marital issues. Okay. Obviously, there's that information available on Reddit. Not to say that you need to believe everything that is on Reddit, but it's on there. And you can find posts about this from 6 years ago where people are basically investigating and noticed that Lauren took off because I think she had her name hyphenated back then, like Lauren Manzo Scalia. And she took the Scalia portion off of her name on Instagram and social media as early as 2017. So I guess some people noticed that and felt the need to comment on that on Reddit. And I found that information, which I thought was very interesting. So just to give us an idea of the timeline. So Lauren Manzo and Vito got married on July 18, 2015. And at that time, I did an episode on that already, guys. You can go back and listen to it. But at that time, if you remember, something very important happens on that day. So the day that Lauren gets married to Vito, um, Dina's husband, then fiance or boyfriend, maybe at the time, Dave Canton. So we all know what happened to him back in July 2018, 2015. I covered that in my last episode. But just to, well, not my last, but a few episodes ago, but just to give you a refresher, the day that Lauren got married, um, Dave got assaulted in a parking lot. And we all know who is currently being accused of giving that order. Okay. So apparently, the guy who assaulted Dave Kenton was part of the Lucchese crime family, according to court documents. And so it seems like Vito and Lauren kind of like went through a lot already, because it's like that's supposed to be your sacred day, you're getting married and all of that. But meanwhile, while everyone is sitting in church and looking at you guys like commit to each other for what was supposed to be forever, something else very ugly is happening um, to someone that is your family or about to become your family, right? So that was like Dina's boyfriend then. And then a year later, after Lauren and Menzel got married, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Vito has a relative that disappeared at some point in time. And if you were on Twitter or on social media, most likely Twitter, because Instagram was not, well, it was there, but it was not what it is today, right? So most likely you'll see those tweets on Twitter from all the Manzo clan. So you see tweets from Caroline, from Albie, from Lauren, from Christopher Manzo, and they're basically putting it out there that someone very close to Vito's family has disappeared, right? I don't know if it's a cousin, but they just keep on referring to him as a relative. So you can actually find in the archives, it's on the Bravo website, it's called, and I'm sorry, just full disclosure, guys, it gets a little dark here. So if you don't want to listen to that kind of content, just fast forward. So it says the title of that article on the Bravo website is Body of Vito Scalia's Relative Found, Police Chief Confirms. So the body of, and then it gives the name of his relative. Just by respect for the family, I'm just not going to say the name, but let's just say that the last name is connected to like a very famous or infamous last name. Okay. Um, so then they talk about that, and they said that the relative's body was found in the Hudson River after the family reported him missing on Monday in Hoboken. And at the time of his death, he was approximately, I think he was 24 years old or something like that. So, yes, so just to give you an idea of the timelines, Vito and Lauren got married in 2015. Then Vito's relative was found in the Hudson River a year after, and he has, a last name that is a little bit controversial, not to imply that there's any ties there, but you probably see where I'm going with this. And then the year after that, they had their baby, I believe, which is their little girl. So, Marky. So, it seems like in in the first few years of their relationship, there was a lot of stuff going on. And then there's been reports since 2017 that Lauren and Vito were having marital problems, and that Lauren was not, associating with the Scalia's last name. So I've seen a lot of people online ask questions over the years to Caroline about the whole thing. And I have to be honest, I've asked myself the same thing. We didn't see a lot of Vito. We saw a lot of like even Lauren, I would say. We didn't really see a lot of Lauren. We saw a lot of Caroline with her granddaughter, and we saw the boys with their niece, Marky. We saw a lot of pictures of that. And then once in a while, we would see Lauren, but never really Vito. Like, very oddly, like at a party here and there, maybe a Christmas thing, we would see him in the background. But they never looked like they were together to me. Like he was in the room, but it didn't look like they were a couple. To me, according to my eyes, that's what I saw. And then I remember Caroline always kind of defending the situation and saying, well, they both work a lot. Um, Vito works a lot, Lauren works a lot. Like that's very important to them to have like, two successful businesses. So me and my husband are like caretakers for Marky Girl and all of that. So that's basically the narrative that Caroline Menzel put out there over the years. But I remember thinking, it's good to be close to your grandchildren, but at some point in time, it felt like it was just like always Caroline having the baby, right? And I often wonder if Vito's family had equal access or in like equal opportunity to see little Marky as well. Because, I didn't really see any pictures of them with the little girl, right? So I don't know. I don't know what happened on that front. A lot of people like to say that Lauren looks her best self right now, and that she probably had never dated before, and now maybe she wants to date. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm not with them behind closed doors. She does look great. Her body looks amazing right now, but I don't feel like Vito is an unattractive man. Like I find he has like a nice face as well, and he's just like a little bit of a larger guy. But according to Lauren, that was her type back then, right? So just to give my own perspective on the whole thing, and just from experience, from things that I've seen here, like around me, or people that I know, and things like that. So you know, I've seen a lot of girls, they were in a relationship before with a guy, and they come from very kind of like traditional families. And, it's always the girl, it's never really the guy, right? And it's kind of like, well, now that everyone knows that you're dating this guy and that, it's been a few years and this is a new day, a new life, a new way of thinking, people will assume that you have been intimate with this person, right? Even though your parents don't want to think about that and they want to just put out the narrative that you haven't been intimate with that person, they still want people to believe that you have not, right? In traditional families. So sometimes, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen family put pressure on the girl and say that she needs to get married to this guy because this guy has gone with her to family functions and done things with her and all of that. So because of that, she needs to marry that man, right? So sometimes girls, they're just happy the way things are. They just want to date. They want to take their time and they're not necessarily thinking about marriage. But because of the pressure that is coming from the outside and everyone saying, well, you're not going to put shame on the family name, okay? You brought this guy at a baptism, at a communion, at a wedding. Now you need to marry this guy, right? So it's possible that at some point in time, and that's just my own opinion, and we have to remember that Lauren was quite young when she started filming the show. She was in her early 20s. And to me, that's still young, especially if you have never really dated like that before. You should take your time, right? So maybe Lauren wanted to take her time with Vito. Maybe she didn't want to get married so soon, but maybe eventually there was a lot of pressure from, everybody, the parents to get married, and then she decided to get married. Even if you guys remember, I don't know if you guys remember, there was some point in time, even on the show, when Lauren came out with Vito and she said to Albie, me and him were in love, blah, blah, blah. He's my boyfriend now because Vito and Albie used to be roommates in college together. So technically, Vito was Albie's best friend. And, when Lauren came out with that, she was just like, oh, I'm in love, I'm in love, and I fantasize on marrying Vito once in a while. She was saying that to herself in her confessionals. And then after that, when things like as things started to get serious between Vito and Lauren, Lauren started to change her mind and she's like, I don't know. I don't know if I actually want to get married. Like she went back and forth with it, right? As a normal human would. So it's possible that she had those thoughts that she was like, yes, I love him, but is he the one? Is he my forever? And I would like to be afforded the time to think about it. But then you would have Caroline that would be like talking to her and be like, you felt the pressure. You felt like, what? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, I thought, like, I always told you that this was like the love of your life or that kind of stuff, right? So I don't know. People change, especially when they get married young. And it's not to say that if you got married young that you will get divorced. That's not what I'm saying. But people do change, they go through phases, and it's possible that after going through so many things together as a couple so early on in their, like within their marriage, that they decided that it was not a fit, right? Plus, I don't know. I don't know what Caroline is like as a mother-in-law, right? She said out of her own mouth on the show that, watch out, for the mother-in-law, the Italian mother-in-law. She's like, that's what she said, right? So, not to say that they're all the same, but Caroline tends to get in there a little bit. She tends to be like very controlling of her adult kids, she was like talking to Lauren about her weight or her business, and no, like whatever Lauren would say about her business, she would be like, no, we're not doing it like that, we're doing it like this. And then the whole thing with Albie, she was like very involved, like in his relationship with Lindsay. If you remember that beautiful cheerleader, Caroline was just like, this is not a good time for you to be in love, like in her confessional, right? I want him to focus on black water. Girls are a distraction. You need to find a woman who's going to understand, like I understood for your dad. And it's just like a little weird. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if somebody said to Lindsay, listen, we're going to give you some money, leave our son alone. We're gonna give you somebody and just like move on with your life and leave our son alone. So anyways, I find that interesting, but what a timing it was for the news to break out while all of the Manzo family is currently in Italy celebrating Albie Manzo Jr.'s wedding with what's her name, Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea. So they're all in Italy celebrating a new life together, like with Albie and Chelsea and the entire family, and the news broke out that Lauren and Vito were divorcing. Let me know what you guys think in the comment.